Let's see if this works. All right. Hello, hello. Give this its moments that it needs to make some connections here. Let's go ahead and get started on those comments. Let's see if I can make this work for us today. Hello. Let me know that you're here. There we go. And it just sits on the turning thing. See, guys, every single time. Just makes me laugh now. I have learned over this last couple of years to not get stressed as much about things like technology and to allow it to just kind of do what it needs to do. I think that has it for us. All right, we'll give a couple seconds for everybody to jump on. And if you're watching the replay, then I'm going to put this in the comments as well, but you can go ahead and jump to about 2 minutes, and that'll be about where we actually start. So, and if you're watching the replay, please let me know that you're here as well. And any questions that come up, anything that that really gives some aha moments for you. You know, let's have that conversation together as well. All right, we'll give a couple more seconds for people to jump on. I got a message from somebody saying that they're going to be coming in a second, so we'll just give that a moment. There we go. Perfect. All right. Okay, let's jump in and get going here. Hello, hello. We are going to chat today about softening the grip. And so it's like this intense kind of time of year for us where we are, trying to fit everybody in. There's a lot. Can you do this? Can you join us here? It's like every night, sometimes it feels like there's something else that has to be done, or every day, and if we've got kids and stuff, then that just adds to everything. So work and closing up, holidays, yeah, there's just so much on the go right now. And what happens often that we don't talk about is how this affects our nervous system. And so our nervous system, if we can think about as we're jacking it up. So actually first we'll go into the whole nervous system. So if we take a look at our nervous system and how it really is working together, then our nervous system can neutralize, but then it kind of goes in these waves. And so within these waves, we have our sympathetic, which is our on, our doing. We want to be in sympathetic when we are driving vehicles. Think alert, think active mind. So we're in this sympathetic. Sympathetic in itself is not a bad thing. It's just getting stuck there that actually makes it a bad thing. And so, how does my nervous system, rise and fall? How does it recover as we're going through these things? And for most people, there's not a recovering. We end up getting stuck into a system, and that's where problems begin. So in its proper ebbs and flows, it's like a diurnal, there's a diurnal cycle, a cycle of our organs. And we ebb and flow through sympathetic, our doingness, and our parasympathetic, our rest and reset. We ebb and flow between these guys about every 2 hours. And so we have a peak performance, and then we have a peak rest. And so this is what our system's supposed to be like when we're working through these things. And what happens for most of us, many of us, is we can get stuck on. And so we're go, go, go all through work. We're go, go, go through with our kids. We're go, go, go. And then all of a sudden it's we need to calm down, and it's our nervous system is jacked up. And so some of the things that we can feel with this is we can't even recover. And so we're getting a good night's sleep, but we're still exhausted. And so what's going on there, and why is this happening to us? And what are some tools that we can use to help us get through these? For me, they're meant to be enjoyable. I love Christmas personally. I think it's a beautiful time of the year. I love the lights. I love the decorations. I love connecting with friends and family. However, there can be the extra pull. There's a lot of stimulation, which for me personally is exhausting. There's a lot of, needing to get things done, and very easy for us to get pulled out of alignment. We can say, I'm going to take it easy this Christmas. We're going to do, maybe minimalism on the presents, and we're going to do more about connection. And then something happens and we get pulled into it where all of a sudden we are going in crazy debt over a time of year that isn't actually what we're supposed to be doing. should be careful with that word of supposed, but that's not the intention of the season. And so how can we help ourselves kind of neutralize, come back into balance as we're going through these things? And so that's what I want us to chat about today. And so, part of this is, as I said, we're going to talk about softening and not fixing. So as we soften, our system gets to go into its automatic, ebbs and flows so that we can find those rhythms again. So think coherence as we're going through our stuff today. And so this live is really about a pause as opposed to a push. And so, what it was like, where are we at here? Why control tightens at the end of the year? And so, first off, like, why is it that at the end of the year, not just because not everybody celebrates Christmas. So what is it about the end of the year that can create this tightening, this excessive forcing or pushing or hustling? What's going on with this? And so the endings of cycles, subconsciously, we're ending a cycle, we're ending a year, and we're beginning another one. And so there's a few things that can happen here, is that often we control because we're trying to find control or find safety within what's going on. And so often we don't think about like the next year is like a bunch of unknowns. And so in our nervous system, our ego or intellect loves knowns because that's something it can measure and it can find safety in. Which is why we habitually redo patterns even if they're unhealthy, because we know what that looks like and we know the outcomes of it, which is why we have unhealthy habitual patterns. And so once we start to recognize this, that it's just simply the nervous system gets uncomfortable with unknowns, which is why we often try to seek control, because we've forgotten how to, like a child, find the joy in the wonder of what's going to be coming next, the excitement of it. And so where can we find this in our life as we're moving through this? And so often control is often wearing productivity clothes. And so often that looks like we're trying to control and we're trying to force and we've got to check everything off the list. And so we don't allow there to be a little more space, a little more softness for ourselves, because that can feel unsafe. And so getting into the quiet, getting into the stillness can be a really beautiful thing, but it can feel terrifying. So notice where that comes in. For some people, it might be the opposite, where the control actually looks like we are in a state of almost like constant rest. And so for myself, like when I get really like pushed too far, I let way too many things on the list and I need to take some of them off, all of a sudden I'll go the opposite. I just like shut down. I like sit and read a book for like 3 hours. Like I just shut off. And so because I can control that. And so notice which ways your control comes in, because control can look like a lot of different things. And we want to know, what does my control look like? This is about like increasing our connection and our intimate relationship with ourselves. So what does that look like for you? Many people tend to grip harder right before rest is available. And so it might feel like we're like pushing and pushing and I'm going to get some rest as soon as we get through this. And so we push and push and push through a season that was, originally designed for celebration, for excitement, for what is coming up next. And so noticing what comes for us as we're moving through these pieces. And this isn't personal. It's biological and it's energetic. And so, so often we beat ourselves up or we give ourselves grief about these things and we forget to have compassion. It's not personal. We often have patterns that we learn from our parents. We have patterns that we are learning from TV, from the world around us, from society. So understanding that these patterns are so much bigger than just this moment and just ourselves. And so if I can recognize that, it's not so that I can grief my family for doing the same things because they were doing the best they could with what they had. But can we have some compassion when we notice a pattern or a habit that has come up, and instead look at it and be like, okay, I can love on myself for this old pattern, and I can start making some choices on how I want to change it. Who do I want to be at this time of year as I finish off the year? And I'm going to go into this for a moment here. I just recorded a Facebook as well as, or not a Facebook, sorry, a YouTube as well as a podcast that'll be going out for next week. And next week's podcast is really talking about like how we close off our year. So it goes out on Boxing Day, and it's like my own practice, but I'm going to talk to you guys about that today as well, is like my own personal practice of how do I find the stillness at this time of season so that I can close the year and close the year in a really beautiful way so that I can create a really epic year coming up. So what do we need to do that for ourselves? And often what ends up happening is we just get so busy that we just miss the whole process. And so taking the time to pause and find some stillness within ourselves. So the tie-in here as we're going into this is the laws, because I always bring them in, and how do they help me and support me as I'm like trying to remember to stay in rhythm. Well, first is the law of return, and the law of return is the law of cycles and spirals and seasons. And it's important for us to recognize, like it's the 18th today, so in 3 days we're heading into the solstice, and that means that we are finishing autumn and we are starting our winter cycle. And this is important because winter in itself is meant to be a time of rest, of recuperation. It's also in that space that we create in that rest that allows us to be open to receive new ideas, new plans for the year coming up. And so how, if I'm going, can I receive it, or is my mind, am I keeping myself so busy I miss all my opportunities, so to speak? You know, those opportunities will come back around, they'll look slightly different, but it'll feel like now I'm late to the game. So how can I set myself up in a way that allows this new year to feel positive, to feel good? And that doesn't need to be just about, you know, the next big work thing. It can be about our joys. It can be about health. It can be about, and I don't do New Year or resolutions, just so you guys know, so it's not my cup of tea, but I will set up things for my year that I'm like, this is what I'd like my, you know, what is important to me for this year coming up. And I usually pick something for health. I usually pick something for my family. I usually pick something personal. So something that I want to work on with myself. So last year I made a really big point of, my word of the year was alignment. And not only coming into alignment with myself, with my values, with my goals, and all those pieces, getting all of things into alignment with each other even, but then also I started coming into alignment with my own healing. And so really worked heavily last year on releasing any wounds and traumas linked with my childhood and my early adulthood. So I made that a really big focus for my year. And so how can I focus on my health, my vitality this year? And so I usually will just like contemplate those things over the course of a few weeks to come up with some ideas of what is here for me. And then I choose my year ahead, which we'll talk about as well. And so I choose my word for the year ahead of like, where do I want this to be like my focus point as I'm moving forward? And so cycles and spirals teaches us, reminds us that, you know, autumn is the finish of letting go. We're closing off projects. We're finishing things up. And then we get the excitement of moving into the new year, and we start that new year with rest. What is this going to look like for us? And so am I getting enough rest? And we forget to work with the world, with the earth. Everybody complains that the days are so short and the nights are so long, and it's like, but there's a point to that. And the point to that is to remind us to rest more. Because we go in the winter when we have long days, so now can we like, you know, close things down, shut that stuff down so that we can, you know, have more rest, more quiet, more contemplation, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially over the next couple months. Maybe play during the day, but then can we rest a little longer? And the earth is trying to remind us of what we actually need, and it doesn't make us weak. It's actually what helps us become strong. And so noticing those rhythms and those cycles that are so vitally important for our health, for our vitality, for our learning, for our growth, they're all there. The law of paradox as well. And so the law of paradox is where we get to see where we can have both relief and grief. So, and what I mean by that, that they can coexist, is often we don't realize that sometimes one of our problems when we don't reflect is that we feel a sense of grief for the year ending. There might be excitement for all the things that we've gotten done or what's going to be coming up, but is there anything that we didn't get done or anything that we didn't have an opportunity? Can we allow ourselves the space to have grief for that? for any missed opportunities. And then also have relief that that is finished and we're closed and we're shutting that down so that we can move into the next cycle again. And so we can have these things coexist. I can feel anger and love at the same time. And we often see that as parents. We can go, okay, yeah, I get that. I can feel, I love my son and still be pissed off at him. But can I feel this way about other things in this world as well? So the law of paradox reminds us it's not one or the other. I can be upset with somebody and still love on them. And often that feels like it doesn't work, and it does. And so how can we use these pieces to remind us and support us as we move into this next season? So control versus surrender. So probably 6-7 years ago when, I started doing a word of the year, probably close to about 10 years ago when I started working with John Maxwell, which is who introduced me to this idea of reflecting on the year that just went by and then putting a word for the year that we want to focus on for the next year ahead. And about 6-7 years ago, I listened to a book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And I was encouraged. I was really I felt like, oh, that's what I want to do. I was really inspired to do this for myself. So I made my word of the year surrender, and then started to practice a surrender experiment, which is really an experiment of letting things go. It doesn't mean that we're not active and participating in our lives. It means we're not controlling and forcing. So control versus surrender. And so first, I need us to understand that surrender is not collapse. It's not taking the passive way out. Surrender is actually relaxing the inner grip. I wrote this down. Relaxing the inner grip while staying present. And so what that means is we're not trying to say something should look a certain way, but we're allowing it. I'm excited for what's unfolding in front of me. We've put our dreams and our desires out into the world. We're the ones that are creating them. We're creating our dreams and desires through our emotional beliefs. So the more that we bring the emotion of gratitude and wonder and appreciation, the more we can allow the energy of that from a quantum point of view, from a physics point of view, the energy of that starts to impact and change the world around us. That's just science. I can talk to you through the woo world of it, or we can talk about from the science world. But, these are the pieces that we get to move and be a part of. And so when we're surrendering, it's not that we're passive, it's that we are excited, and there's more of a sense of wonder. I wonder what's going to come up for today. I wonder how I'm going to be of service. I wonder who I'll see, who I'll meet. I wonder what impacts I'm going to be making this month. And so we just start to get into a state of wonder and curiosity about the life that we are creating, that we are a part of, or actively participating in. And then the distorted masculine. Here we go. So distorted masculine is forcing, managing, and pushing. So I've been talking a lot over this last couple months about this idea of the suppressed feminine. And over 2,000 years ago, we suppressed the feminine, and under this guise that it was weak and it wasn't, we needed to be more intellectual. And so as we suppressed women, and then we suppressed the feminine, not only in women, but also in men as well, we have a problem because that we lose the harmony between the two energies, and we get a distortion within the masculine. And so the masculine has to hold all of the energy, and we become highly intellectualized. And now we're in this state where I work more with people trying to get out of their heads and into their hearts. They're like, what does that mean? How do I feel that? I'm so dissociated from my body. Which was me when I started this practice. I was extraordinarily dissociated. I had no idea, couldn't even tell you what my body felt like. And so coming back into that place of what does this look like? How can I be more intuitive? And so when I started to come back into my body to create some somatic experience, part of that was starting to feel my emotions, to feel the sensations in my body, which allowed me to also increase my connection with my intuition. Because intuition is directly correlated with our feminine energy, with the somatic experience. So what do we need here to be able to support ourselves, to be able to get, more in tuned, more in alignment as we move forward? So when we have a distortion of that masculine energy, that's where we have forcing, managing, and pushing. And so we're up here and we're just trying to make everything happen, and we're in extreme control. Whereas the healed masculine, so when we harmonize the feminine, that allows us to start healing the energy of the masculine energy. And these are not male, female. These are not about genders. We all have the divine masculine and the divine feminine within us. And so as we come into the healed masculine, now we have containment, which doesn't mean control. Containment means we're holding the space of something. We also have steadiness. So we can have chaos all around us, but there's like this steadiness. It's like your warrior's at ease. And so it's not weak. It's there, it's ready, but it's not on high alert. And then there's also a sense of trust because we're present. And so within that presence allows us to have trust with ourselves again. Often the things that we're seeking from the world outside of us, the safety, security, belonging, and love, we are seeking those things because we don't have them inside. We are not giving them to ourselves. And so if I'm not present with myself, I'm never going to feel safe or secure. If I'm not present with myself, then no amount of feeling like I'm included is going to really work, because if one person changes their behavior, I'm going to go back to an old pattern. And so this helps us see, where do I need to give this for myself? Where do I need to be just a titch more present in my life, in my body right now? The feminine can only release when it feels safe. And so being more present with ourselves, coming into the quiet, coming into the calmness, and I think this is the beauty of winter. This is the beauty of us heading into our shortest days, is we are getting the beautiful opportunity to get quiet with ourselves. What do I like? What do I not like? What do I want? What do I desire? And even curious about it. Why do I like that? Why do I dislike that? Is that even true? Still, maybe it was true before, but is it true now? So we get this opportunity, this time to explore ourselves, to get to know ourselves again and reestablish, recreate an intimate relationship. So think of the word intimate as into-me-see, intimacy. So can we take this stillness, the quiet, to cultivate some personal intimacy with ourselves, with our soul? And what would that look like for ourselves? So then, and when we can do that, that's where our feminine really gets to rise up. And with the rise of the feminine, then the masculine gets to stand and hold that space with her. And so now we have an actual relationship as opposed to a competition. And you can even see this in homes. So when you watch where like a couple is not in coherence with each other, then it's almost like they compete against each other. Well, I did this, well, I did that. Well, I did these things around the house and you haven't done enough around the house. And so we're competing with each other. Whereas when we start coming in together, there's this, coherence, there's this beautiful relationship where we entwine. And sometimes I'm going to pull more weight and sometimes my husband's going to pull more weight. The same thing goes inside of ourselves. If I can allow this energy to reharmonize within myself, there's going to be times that, the warrior, that masculine energy needs to lead. And there's going to be times where the feminine energy gets to lead. And so the two of them work together cohesively, which is a beautiful, beautiful gift, which is how we each come back into attunement, back into alignment again. So the nervous system and holidays, so in the aftermath, so no matter what, and we're even seeing this, in our world right now, where we're seeing, war everywhere. And we're even seeing these spiritual wars come about. We're seeing people under the guise, the excuse of our religion, of our beliefs, of our colors of our skin, of where we're born, where we're seeing an incredible disruption. It's like it just never ends. It's there and it's very present once again as we head into these seasons. And so can we come back and find the stillness and the quiet to calm the nervous system in a time when it's extraordinarily dysregulated? Not just every single season. It seems like this year we have like another whole entire layer that is really being activated. So as we're coming into this, so the nervous system's already jacked. We've got way too much going on. Our nervous system is stimulated just from lights and noise and doing and being. And so then we have the aftermath that comes from that, which is a bit of an emotional hangover. And so, which is why so many people end up doing like dry January. What are they trying to do? They're trying to calm the nervous system down. That's the point of this. And so can I settle things down? And so often the things that jack the nervous system up is, family dynamics. It is the That's where we'll get the emotional hangovers from, is like family dynamics. We get it from the expectations of our family, or even just from our friends and our work life, expectations people have of us. Financial pressure. It is ridiculous how much we spend, and this is coming from a person that has been over the top for many years in Christmas. I heavily like counterbalanced growing up, poor, to being ridiculously over the top with Christmas, and then trying to find that more middle path, that more solid ground. And so the financial pressures. And so often when we hit January, when everybody's credit card bills are coming in, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, now I've got to like work to pay off all these things I just did. So, that's another reason we have these holiday hangovers. And the social stimulation, as I said, the parties, the lights, the doing, so am I balancing? Am I finding some rhythm within that now? And if I'm not, and I'm going to go, can I find the stillness and the quiet after to complete my recovery of it? And so I just said, low-grade grief without clear story is normal. And so often people don't realize that the feelings that they're feeling are actually grief. I might be feeling like this is just too much for me to hold on to, too much for me to carry in my life, in my world. So can I release some of this? Can I let some of this go? Can I create some clarity for myself? And I have a trick for you guys to help you with creating that clarity as we're going through this season. January clarity often comes from December honesty. And so am I being honest with myself about what is happening? And can I create that, create the honesty so that I can get the clarity that I desire for January? Because we might not have it quite yet, but it will come if we can be really honest with ourselves. And so how to actually soften the grip. Because it all sounds good in context, but how do we really soften the grip? So reduce inputs before increasing outputs. So often, what we need to do is we need to stop adding to the plate before we're putting out more. So can I start to reduce what is coming in? And then I can also reduce what I'm putting out. So what does that look like for me? Fewer decisions and more breath. So, and everybody can laugh because my plate is massive right now. And then people are like, what is the difference between what you're experiencing right now versus hustle? It was a conversation yesterday. And I said, well, first off, I'm in a complete state of enthusiasm and joy for my life. So when something feels like this is too much, I simply take it off my plate. But for the rest of the pieces, it's my attitude towards what I have to do that gives me the energy to do it. So notice what maybe that feels like for yourself as well. So is it that sometimes we become so exhausted because of the language that we have about what we're doing? So for myself, I feel totally in flow with my life right now, even though it seems for a lot of people like, God, you got a lot on your plate. But I love it. I love it. I would actually like to do what I'm doing more than doing nothing or other things. So what is it that fills your cup? And when we're doing it, can we make sure that our language is clean? So think of energy hygiene. So if I'm doing something, I'm like, I really don't want to do this. What is the resonance or frequency that I'm putting into my body and that I'm then projecting into the experience? So I'm cautious with those things. I don't do things that I don't want to do. And when my mind is like, we don't want to do this, I'm like, no, actually we do. That's why we're doing it. Remember, your mind is not who you are. You're the one that hears and experiences your mind. So when we have that negative talk going on, can we separate ourselves from it? White space is productive right now. So where that comes in is like creating some space for us to get quiet. That could be meditation, that could be yoga, it could be going for a nature walk. It could be just sitting in some quiet stillness, listening to music. Can we create a little bit of white space to allow there to be things to rise up from it? The questions I've given here are, what am I holding that is ready to rest? What am I holding that is ready to rest? And what would it feel like to trust this pause? What would it feel like to trust this pause? because often the stillness is the most uncomfortable part. We are so used to going and doing. So can I find the stillness, some silence, some space to hear what I need to do next? To hear my soul, to hear my spirit, to hear the nudges of what's available out there to me. So I wrote some embodiment practices, but I actually going to give you something different than what I originally started with, because I was like, you know what, I know this is what is my own personal practices, and so how can I use this in support? So, two things. If we are feeling overwhelmed, we are feeling stressed, we're feeling like this is just too much, our nervous system is jacked, my very first thing that I give my clients is brain dumping. This practice started off from a book called, I think, The Writer's Way or something like that. And it's a creative writing practice where you set a timer and you write free writing for 3 pages. It's not how I use it. So I took this and I made it my own, and I call them brain dumps. And so what we do is we take a blank page, and we can set the timer for 10 minutes, and we just write whatever's on our mind, which means if I am feeling stressed, then I might start off, I always start with good morning. So I'm like, good morning, I'm feeling stressed. Here's all the things I have to do today. And I just start listing off all the things I have to do. And all of a sudden I might get something underneath that. Like, I'm worried I'm not going to be able to accomplish this. I'm worried I'm going to drop the ball here. What if so-and-so is upset with me? And all of a sudden I just keep dumping and dumping and dumping so that it's not looping in my head. Thinking about it and speaking it out loud are not the same thing. Not energetically, not scientifically. We are projecting that negative energy into the world around us. When we dump it onto a page, it's contained. So it's like you're creating a containment field around these worries, concerns, resentments, angers. These are beautiful for your family. Yes, Jeff Lily, I love it. Like, this is my favoriteest practice. I do it every day. I encourage people to do it as often as you need to. My own team has books beside their computers, and they brain dump after a negative email, a conversation with an employee, like a coworker, or a phone call. I'm like, dump it, then go back. Like, take a couple minutes to dump it out so that you're not carrying that energy into the conversation. Can we dump our worries and concerns, like when we're being, family members are gripping at us and want a piece of us? Can we dump that where it feels like everybody's trying to feed off of us, and then clear the field? So that's what I call it. Brain dumping clears the field, helps us become aware of our beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about what's happening. It helps us become clear about our thoughts, and it also helps us become clear about our emotions. And so we're clearing that energetic field so we can start choosing. So we clear the field first. The second step is heart coherence breathing. Now, I did not create this. It has been around for a long time. Heart Math Institute has done tens of thousands of studies have been done on heart coherence breathing. So this isn't mine or new, but this is going to be the practice of it. 4 steps. So first step of this is we want to come into our body. So that could be, I do this with my eyes open. I was just doing it driving to work today. But if you want to do this for a moment, just taking a second and closing your eyes. And I just want you to start to notice the soles of your feet. Notice maybe your seat, sitting down if you're sitting. Noticing the tension in your body. Is it soft? Is it relaxed? Do you have tension anywhere? Don't judge it. Just starting to notice. And this is where I'm at. So we're just starting to become present with ourselves. And as we start to notice, our breath will naturally start to slow. So we're inhaling through the nose, slow and steady, a little pause at the top. And we're starting to extend the exhale down. So maybe we inhale for about 4 or 5 counts. And we exhale, maybe even get them to 6 or 8. We just start calming the system. Finding the rhythm of the breath, feeling it as it ebbs and flows through the belly. Finding the releasing, the letting go. And then bringing either a hand to your chest or your fingertips, and just creating contact with your chest, with your heart. Eyes still closed, and we're just bringing all of your awareness to the center of your chest. Notice how the breath ebbs and flows past the heart. And as you bring your awareness to the heart, it's almost as if you're breathing in and out of your heart. As you inhale, it strengthens the energy of your heart. And as you exhale, like you're sending the breath out of your heart, expanding it. We inhale to strengthen it. We exhale to expand it. And then the fourth step is we want to bring to mind, or to your heart, something that we have gratitude or appreciation or caring for. It can be a person, a memory, it can be a place, it can be a thing. Just bringing to mind one thing that you are grateful for, one thing you appreciate. If it's hard out there, maybe we can just simply appreciate this breath that ebbs and flows through our heart. And as we tap into that sense of appreciation, just letting it build, can you feel it in your body here and now? Can you allow it to soften the muscles around your eyes? To soften the muscles of your lips, the corners turn up in just a hint of a smile. So that we breathe in that gratitude, that compassion. And as we exhale, we send that gratitude, we send the compassion out into the world. Each breath impacting the world around us. Reverberating out of your body, allowing your heart to be the epicenter of gratitude. You can stay here as long as you like, and then when you're ready, you can just gently open your eyes and just notice it. What does that feel like in your skin, in your flesh? What does it feel like to be centered, to be present? So we clear the field, we set the field, heart coherence breathing, and then we direct it. Where do you want to go? So now we can set an intention for our day, for our season, for the year, whatever you want. What's one aspect of yourself you'd like to expand? Maybe it's to be more grateful, to release judgment, to be more forgiving. What is one aspect of yourself? Or maybe it's coming into one of your values. You really want to bring one of your values to life, really work on it this year. Would you set that intention? Maybe it's just setting the intention to come into the day feeling grounded and present. How powerful would that be, to be so grounded and so present that every person you meet feels completely seen and completely heard? And so this is the practice I want to leave you with today for this, releasing our grip, where instead what we're doing is we're coming in to a place where we can regulate our nervous system, which is what heart coherence breathing does. We dump the field. So first we get rid of the shit that's creating chaos, then we create the coherence to find ourselves some rhythm within ourselves, not from the outer world, but from ourselves, from our center, and then we can direct the course. Who do I want to be? Who do I choose to be today? You are that powerful of a being. You get to recreate yourself every single day. So who will you be today? So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with today on this, as we kind of come into this of closing the year and resetting it from an anchored place. How will you design your 2026? How will you complete your 2025? I am going to come live next week on Christmas Day. I was split. Was I going to do it, or was I going to maybe do it the day before? But I've decided that no, I'm actually going to do my Facebook Live on Christmas Day at probably around lunchtime. So I'm going to try and keep our exact same rhythms here as we go into it. And on that, we're going to talk about the reflection, the exact process I use to reflect over my year, the exact process that I use to choose my word of the year. Last year, the word was alignment. This year coming up, I have a new year, so we'll talk about that a little on Christmas Day. and see what word comes up for you. All right, you guys, I hope you have an amazing day. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Please let me know what this resonates with. Try the heart coherence breathing, and what does that feel like in your body? Tell me in the notes, in the comments. And what does it feel like to brain dump? Play with it. It can be really hard to do some days. I promise you, game changing. Brain dumping is what has let me know every single limiting belief that I've had, so that I could make the choice to unwind it, to release it, and choose, what do I want to believe? And bring that as an emotional context to my body to shift my frequency and allow myself to become who I choose to be. All right, you guys, we will see you soon. Much love to all of you.